He's an activist, he's an author, but Dale has this unique gift that he has found a way to bridge the gap with people you would think it would be impossible to bridge the gap with. And so I really want to come to you now, Daryl. First of all, thank you for joining us. And would you start out, Daryl, by just telling us the story of how this first happened? Because you've got taken with, is it 200 Klansmen now? Is that right? That you've
That's correct.
That's incredible, Daryl. Tell us the first time it happened when you're playing, music, and tell us the story if you would, and tell us what made it possible, and then what drove you after that to expand beyond that one relationship, which by itself would be an unbelievable life accomplishment, to what you've done for the last 30 years, brother.
Well, I have a degree in music performance and jazz, and I was playing rock and roll and blues and things like that, and then country music had made a resurgence. So, if you want to work full time, which I did, I joined a country band. And country music and blues music is the exact same music, the same three chords.
Yeah.
And I joined a country band. It was an all-white band. I was the only black person in there, and consequently, usually the only black person where we would play. Well, the band used to play, or they had played at a place called the Silver Dollar Lounge in Frederick, Maryland, about an hour and a half outside of Washington, D.C., hour and 20 minutes. And the Silver Dollar Lounge was an all-white lounge, not meaning that blacks could not go in there, but blacks chose not to go in there. And that was a good choice because they were not welcome. It was an all-white lounge. And usually, when you're not welcome and alcohol is being served, it's not a good combination.
Yes.
So they stayed out. Well, here I was in the Silver Dollar Lounge, and my first time. The band had been there before. We came off the bandstand after the first set, take a break, on our way to sit down, and this white gentleman walked across the dance floor and put his arm around my shoulder and said how much he enjoyed the music. And I shook his hand, I thanked him, and then he pointed at the stage and said, "I've seen this here band before, but I ain't never seen you before. Where did you come from?" And I explained, well, yeah, you probably did see them. They told me they played here, but I just joined them. I've only been in the band a couple months, and it's my first time here. He says, "Well, man, I sure like your piano playing. This is the first time I ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis." And I was not offended. I was not offended, but I was rather surprised that this guy was probably 15, 18 years older than me, and he did not know the black origin of Jerry Lee Lewis's style of playing. And I said to him, well, where did you think Jerry Lee Lewis learned how to play? He says, well, he invented that. I said, no, he didn't. I said, I know Jerry Lee Lewis. He's told me himself. He's a friend of mine. He's told me himself where he learned how to play. He learned from black, blues, and boogie-woogie piano players. Exactly. That's where rock and roll, rockabilly came from. Oh, no, Jerry Lee invented that. I ain't never seen no black man play like that except for you. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this guy never saw Little Richard or Fats Domino or something. But he was fascinated enough with me. He didn't believe me, but he was fascinated enough that he wanted to buy me a drink. Now, I don't drink, but I went back to his table and had a cranberry juice with him. And he paid the waitress. He took his glass and cheered me, clinked my glass. And then he says, this is the first time I ever sat down and had a drink with a black man. Now I'm kind of baffled, like, what's going on here? I asked him why, and he didn't answer me at first. I asked him again, and his buddy sitting next to him elbowed him and said, tell him. I said, tell me, I understand the mystery here. He looked at me just as plain as day and said, I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan. And I burst out laughing at him because I did not believe him.
You thought he was joking.
I thought he was joking. I know a lot about the Klan, a whole lot. And they don't operate that way. So I think, okay, this guy's just jerking me around. He probably figured I was jerking him around about Jerry Lee, so he's going to jerk me around about the Klan. So I'm laughing, and he goes inside his wallet, flips through, and hands me his Klan membership card. I took this down, looked at it, and I was shocked. I recognized the Ku Klux Klan insignia, a red circle with a white cross and red blood drop in the center. This thing is for real. So I stopped laughing, right? And I gave it back to him. And we talked about the Klan and some other things, but I'm going to skip ahead. I had formed a question in my mind in 1968 when I had rocks thrown at me in a Cub Scout parade, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
And I formed a question that was, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? And I've been searching for the answer to that question, and I could not find it. Nobody seemed to be able to give me a satisfactory answer. So later on, that guy gave me his phone number and wanted me to call him anytime I was to come to that bar with this band, because he wanted to bring his friends, Klansmen and Klanswomen, to see this black guy play piano like Jerry Lee. I'm not sure he called me a black guy to his friends, but he wanted me to call him, let him know when I was playing there. So we were there every 6 weeks.
You can't even make up a story like this, Daryl. This
is for real.
This is incredible.
And I'd call him every 6 weeks, and he would show up, and he'd bring Klansmen and Klanswomen. They didn't come in their robes and hoods. They came in street clothes, and they would watch me play, and they would get on the dance floor and dance to our music. And on the breaks, I would go to his table and say hello. Some of them were curious about me. They wanted to meet me and talk to me. Others would see me coming, and they'd get up and scoot off to some other part of the room. They want to see me, but not, associate with me, which was fine. And so this went on to the end of the year, and I quit that band and went back to playing rock and roll and blues. But then it dawned on me, Daryl, the answer to your question that's been plaguing you since age 10 fell right into your lap. Who better to ask that question, how can you hate me when you don't even know me, than to ask somebody who would go so far as to join an organization whose whole premise has been hating people who don't look like them and who don't believe as they believe. Get back in contact with that guy and write a book. Get him to hook you up with the Grand Dragon and the Imperial Wizard and other people and other clan members. Go up north, go down south, go to the Midwest, go to the West, and interview people. Get him to hook you up and write this book and ask those people that question. Because he was friendly with you, maybe he'll help you out. So that's what I did.
Wow.
Long story short, I traveled the country, and I interviewed a lot of clan members, leaders, Imperial Wizards, Grand Dragons, exalted Cyclopses, Great Titans, so forth and so on. And I wrote the book, Clandestine Relationships. And through the process of sitting down and talking with these people, many of them ended up leaving the clan and giving me their robes and hoods. I'm going to tell you right quick about one guy here. This guy, he was a Grand Dragon in the state of Maryland. Grand Dragon means state leader. Imperial Wizard means national leader. Anybody Imperial is on the national level. Anybody on the Grand level is on the state level. This guy, his name was Robert White, Bob White. He was the Grand Dragon from Maryland.
Robert White.
Yeah. And he was the Grand Dragon from Maryland. And anyway, he went to prison. He went to prison for 4 years for conspiring to bomb a synagogue in Baltimore. He got out of prison and continued